So first off, I got to start today's event with a humongous thank you to our Captivate IQ partners for sponsoring today's event. So let me talk you through what you're going to expect from today's event besides these really cool shades. So here's the thing. There's stuff holding us back. There's stuff holding me back. There's stuff holding Richard back. There's even stuff holding Larry back. And I know he's rocking those cool flamingo shades. Hard to believe that. But it's time to really get out of our own way and to step into our maximum potential, not just to do that one time a month, one time a year, around the time that we have to do QBRs. No. We need to be doing this every single day, or at least striving for that. So today we're going to try to get unstuck and get out of a rut, to get back on track, to thrive through the rest of 22 and beyond into 2023. So today we're going to take away 5 different things. 1, the importance of perspective in managing day-to-day life and experiences in a revenue role. 2, to develop a personalized action plan to guide you through to your maximum greatness. 3, we're going to have interactive priorities alignment exercises led by Larry. We're going to have 4, tips and strategies for your best self and hashtag maxing out personally, as well as how to serve others. And 5, and this is something I relate to a lot, how imposter syndrome can cost you $1 million over your lifetime career and what to do about it. I don't know about you, but I do not want to be $1 million poor. If anything, please write me the check, sir. I will take that and put it right in the bank. So look, guys, before we kick off, we know that we're kind of meeting everybody here at a lot of different places in your life. We put together a poll just to get a sense of what's going on, what everybody's feeling a little nervous and anxious about. If you feel comfortable, please answer this poll right now. What are you feeling the most anxious about? This way, Larry and Richard are going to really be able to target what you're feeling nervous about, talk to those examples, and give you actionable ways to get over that hump so that you're able to be your best self every single day of the week. 24/7, 365, baby. Okay, I'll give you guys 1 or 2 more minutes just to finish this. Okay, we've got almost 70% participated. That's a solid C. Okay, guys, C's get degrees, but come on, can we be a B or maybe even an A student? All right, I'm going to finish up this poll. It's a really interesting mix here, and I'm going to share this with you guys so that you can see this. We're really tied here. Number 1 and number 2 spot are really almost neck and neck. One of them is finding that next chapter in my professional career. Hey, if you're looking for a job or hiring, post it in the chat. Number 2, work and life integration and managing it all. Is it work from home or is it live at work? That's the truth, guys. For some of you guys, it's literally all of the above. You're like, yeah, give it to me. All of it's stressing me out. And for some of you, the reality of the macroeconomic climate is hitting you hard, and you're nervous about how restructuring may impact you and your role today. All right, one more final thing from me. I'm sorry, I just got to keep this spotlight going because I'm looking amazing in these shades. So one shameless plug here, and I think this is a cool one for you guys as well. Unsure if all you guys know, but Sales Hacker is actually an outreach platform, and we have a really exciting opportunity happening for a Women in Sales Summit in Napa, California. And this is specifically for folks who identify as female in sales leadership. And the agenda and guest list has been specifically created for senior managers, directors, VPs, and SVPs of sales. So this is going to be happening over September 19th to September 21st. And guys, get this, Venus Williams is speaking at this Women's in Sales Summit. For me, that's enough, but I'll add that and one-up it. This is going to be in Napa, California. So not only are you going to have Venus Williams speaking, you're going to have amazing, beautiful wineries in the background, gorgeous wine to sip on if you wish to drink. And you'll be able to network with other incredible female leaders in the sales world. And you'll be able to pick up crucial skills in becoming an even more effective sales leader. So if you use that link that's actually just been posted in the chat, that link actually applies a discount that's specific for our friends here at Sales Hacker. If you are running into any issues with the discount code, I pop that in the link as well. Okay, guys, I know I'm done with my spiel. Apologies. I'm going to hand it over to Larry to kick us off with today's event. So excited. Larry, take us away with the rose gold microphone, baby.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yes, this is the platinum mic. I'm colorblind. So, yeah, it could be classified as pink, but we are going to drop the mic. Thank you so much, Tess. Thank you, Sales Hacker. Thank you to our sponsor, Captivate IQ. And thank you to everyone who's attending. We realize that time is money, time is precious, and we're going to make sure you get the most out of this time. So, as you can see, we're going to hopefully provide some new perspectives. If you have some glasses, go ahead and put them on, because we're going to be looking through some new lenses on how you can change your mindset and ultimately boost your sales. I think everyone in here is in sales in one capacity or another, or else you wouldn't be here. So let me introduce myself, and I'm going to pass the mic to Richard, and we'll get rolling. I'm Larry Long Jr. I'm CEO. That's Chief Energy Officer of LLJR Enterprises. Motivational speaker, sales trainer. I'm a coach. I'm an author of a book called Jolt. If you haven't gotten your Jolt, go ahead and get you some. And I'm just passionate about helping sales professionals, sales leaders take their game to the next level. And I think it starts with your mindset. The mic is all yours, Richard.
It works when I come off mute best. Thank you. And God, the first time Larry and I've actually shared the stage together, other than on a podcast, he and I did once. So I'm super excited. I've known him for years. His energy is normal. Like, this is what he's like. I haven't asked his wife or his kids yet, but from what I can tell, that's exactly what he's like in the house. Which, I definitely want your kids to do a Larry Long Jr. impression video, Larry. That would be awesome. So thank you. My name is Richard Harris. I am the founder of Harris Consulting Group, teaching sales reps how to earn the right to ask questions, which questions to ask and when. Prior to the acquisition, I was the director of sales training and consulting for Sales Hacker. So my relationship with Sales Hacker goes all the way back about 10 years at this point. So a big fan and happy to support them, and so love what they're doing. And really just want to say thanks to Sales Hacker for having this conversation, as well as Captivate IQ for bringing it to the forefront. I think it's super important. With that being said, well, let's kick it off, Larry. Where do we want to start?
We're going to start with the importance of perspective. And I love to pull out my favorite quote. This is a quote that I love from Henry Ford. And I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to give you the P. Diddy remix version. But what he states is, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And as we talk about mindset, as we talk about sales, as we talk about business, and as we talk about life, I ask you to reflect on your current mindset. I had two lunches today. I'm trying to cut down, but we talked about the economy and that dreaded R word, the recession. It is what it is. And we've got to do what we've got to do in 2022. So my question to you is, what are you doing to get your mind right? What are you doing to get your belief system right in your heart, in your mind, through the words you use and through your actions? So I do want to kick it off. We're going to do an in-depth exercise, but I want you to just think about, as you reflect on 2022.
Hey, Larry, I want to jump in real quick before you
you got it.
Talk about mindset for a second. There are two quotes. I can't remember whose they are, but they're not mine. So I'll admit that straight up. One is that success will not lower its standards to us.
Right.
We have to accept that, whether you want to or not. The other one is about, and this is my new favorite one, which is, our brain is like Teflon for positivity and Velcro for negativity.
Right.
That's just how we're predisposed. And there's tons of studies on it, but it's one of those things. It's like, we need to be able to accept our own things that we want to be accountable for and change. We also need to give ourselves permission to hold on to the positive. Because I think as a mindset, we're like, oh, don't do that, don't do that. And it's actually a very stale piece from back when I was in sales. And I can literally say last century was, you don't talk about negativity, which meant you don't acknowledge it. And then you also were taught not to brag about your successes. It's like, well, wait a minute. So I can't talk about anything. Like this was the mindset. And by the way, this is what your Gen Xers are finally realizing. If those of you are Gen X and in leadership, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with them? That's what's wrong with them. So anyway, I'm going to pause there, and I'll sorry for the language.
No. We're keeping it real. And we want to keep this an open, interactive conversation. So whatever comes to mind, we are looking at the chat. And I appreciate everyone participating in the poll, because now we know that folks are thinking about that next chapter in their professional career. We know that folks are concerned, and top of mind is, how do you integrate all the priorities of work, of life, of what's going on in your community? There's some folks that say all the above, all of it is on my mind, and some folks are thinking about layoffs. Now, what I do know is that we can control the controllables, and this is something that we all know. But once again, knowing isn't always doing. And the purpose of this session is hopefully for you to walk away doing something different. It's great to know new perspectives, but if you keep doing old habits, Houston, we have a problem. So I want every one of you to reflect back. We're currently at the end of August. I want you to think, over the last 8 months, we've been on a journey. Some of us have been on an adventure. For me, it's been a misadventure, but it's been fun the whole way. As you reflect, I want you to think about what have been the top 2 peaks, the top 2 greatest things that have happened to you over the last 8 months. That could be personal, it could be professional. Now, I also want you to think about the lowest 2 valleys, personal and or professional. I got COVID, that was a valley. I lost a family member, that was a valley. Now, with the valleys, I want you to reflect on not just what it was, but what was your key learning from that experience? And number 2, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to do now if you're faced with that again? Because if we're not learning through this journey, if we're not learning through these experiences, guess what? It's all for naught. We're not getting any value. Now, I know some of this is personal, but I'm asking for any volunteers that care to share. Number 1, tell me something good. What was the best thing that happened? And we'll start off with Richard. What was your top number 1 peak of 2022? It could be personal or professional. The gold mic is all yours, Richard.
I think that the top thing for me was finally getting out for a vacation with my family, like a legit vacation. Got to go to Hawaii, and I thought that was fabulous. I think that was the big one.
I love it. I love it. Do you care to share your lowest valley of this year?
Yeah, oh, come on, Larry, you know me. I'll go deep and dark quick. So my lowest valley, I had an event, I had to do a surf and sales event, and we had one in May. Went away with my wife, which was also a highlight. We went to Mexico with some other couples. Came back the next day. I came down with COVID and could not even go to my own sales event in Costa Rica. So that was my valley. So I can't. But I did not have a. For me, that was a valley, which probably for a lot of people isn't that big of a valley. Totally respect that. Knock on wood, we've had no major COVID issues, no major family struggles. So, that is my perspective of what my valley was.
Now we're going to take it to those next 2 steps. What did you learn from that terrible experience of contracting COVID? And what would you do differently? What are you going to change in the future?
Well, from the COVID piece, I learned that because my wife and I wasn't disagreeing, made us get our COVID shots literally 2 weeks before we went to Mexico. My COVID was not severe at all. Like, it didn't last. What did I learn? I don't know that I would have learned it from there. I think what I've learned this year is I've had new business opportunities come that are different than what I normally do, and they're successful. And I'm working hard. I think Scott Barker, Larry. Yeah. He mentioned something at our event a couple of years ago, and I really focus on this, is just trying to say yes more. Say yes to things. And it was so simple, and it's so simple and yet sometimes so hard to do. that I really started just saying yes to new ideas. And lo and behold, it's taken my business in a different direction. And that's really cool. So I think that's my biggest lesson this year, not from, look, I ain't complaining about getting COVID and missing my event. Like, I get it. I know where that is in the reality of the real world. I think it was the saying yes that was the most important thing.
I appreciate you sharing. And I want to say to all attendees, I see you in the chat. We've had some loss of life. We've had loss of jobs. We've had folks that have had new jobs, new opportunities, learning from being laid off. As we go through life's journey, the perspective, and oftentimes when one door closes, we have our eyes focused on that closed door. So we sometimes miss out on that window of opportunity opening up. So as we talk about perspective, it's your choice. And I encourage you to make the choice that when things don't go your way, which is this 4-letter word we call life, it's going to happen, that you choose to look for the good, the great, and the wonderful. Now, with that, we're going to do a little skipping around because I think this is pretty important. And this comes from Richard about how he lost over $1 million due to imposter syndrome and the tips for handling that. I'm curious about this, Richard. What you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to give one example that I missed. In 2020, in April, when COVID really shut everything down, I did a live session, 2 live sessions on my sales training. Gave it away for free, full on, 2 days in a row, everything I would teach any of my clients, the exact same training. I had 1,000 people register, right? And between the two events, probably 15. Someone came on and said, "Hey, Richard, why don't you create a Slack group for all these people?" This is 2020. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And because I was not big in Slack. A few months later, when that was mistake one, a few months later, I learned about this group called Patreon, where, for $10 a month, I could go and do these trainings and, $10 a month per person, so maybe I got 500 people to sign up for that. And over time, that'd be $5 grand a month, right? Like, and I have friends who've done this and they did it then. And I just couldn't connect those dots. So that's a simple example. So if you take, because I know what it could be, $5 grand times 24 months, that's 100 something grand right there over 2 years, right? And the reason was, one, a little bit of laziness. Two, I didn't think I was worthy of asking people for that, which is really weird considering the business and what I do. So that is one example. I can point to many times over my career where I didn't have the confidence or courage to professionally say the things that needed to be said in a sales deal. And I know those deals that I lost. And I knew how to answer those questions better. And I just was too afraid to do it because I was afraid I was going to offend the client. And I know of at least 4 deals each that are 4 figures, that are each 6 figures alone that would have been those deals. So quickly I can tell that. But those are those pieces. If you want to hear the other side of it, I'm happy to share, Larry.
Please, would love to hear the other side. That
Yeah.
was great. And I mean, you mentioned it earlier about Scott Barker encouraging you to just say yes, to opportunities. And you mentioned the C words, courage and the confidence. And
Yep.
I've got I just put out a LinkedIn post. I just rolled out a sales acceleration training program. My coach, I work with a coach. I've been noodling about this for over 6 months. And it's that FUD, not Elmer FUD, but that fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the back of my mind.
Yep.
Where I might come across as confident, but that voice says, "Larry, you're not worthy. Larry, you're not good enough." It tells me all those things that voice will tell you. Whereas on the other side, and I've had to fight and be intentional, really focus on that voice that says, Hercules, you can do it, Larry, and you will do it. Let's go for it. So I appreciate you sharing that, Richard. I can't wait to hear the other side.
So the other side is I'm making strides there and doing more of those things community wise. I haven't crossed that bridge of the Patreon I do have a Slack channel, but it's people want to join it, I'm more than happy to share. Um, that being said, I've said yes to finally doing my book. I think my other imposter syndrome was it's taken me 4 years to get to my book. Larry, my book should have been out 3 years ago, and I just sort of have put it off. So I think that was one, and now I'm actually doing the book. So right now, my energy is focused on that book. So it may not be focused on like a Patreon thing or something like that. I'm much more intentional about the partnerships I do and making sure that they do make sense for me. And probably the biggest thing is learning to say yes and learning not to say yes to everything, because that's also my bad habit. I'm really good at any person in this group. You come to me and say, Richard, can I get 15 minutes? The answer is yes, right? Hey, Richard, why don't you create a Slack channel? No. Like, so these are the things that go on in my head. So anyway, so those are the things that I'm working on, and I hope that answered the question of the other side. If not, let me know.
It's spot on. And my key takeaways from what Richard said, and this is what y'all can use, each and every one of you, it's really the ABC. The A is taking action. And I appreciate some folks in the chat talking about coaching. I highly recommend coaching, finding a coach. It's kind of like finding a therapist. You got to find that person that matches well with you and what you're going through at that particular time. But taking action, that first step, as well as accountability. The ABCs, the B is belief. I think Journey says it best. Don't stop believing. Don't get me singing. I'll have y'all cry.
Larry, I'm going to interrupt you. Not that we don't want to hear you sing, but I want to interrupt you about that coach. If people don't know me, I'm a huge mental health advocate, talk about my story all the time. One of the things I learned in exploring mental health was that as humans, we need a personal board of directors. So for example, I mentor people and help people. I know Larry does the same, right? I have a financial advisor who is on my personal board of directors. I have a business coach on my personal board of directors. My wife is on my personal board of directors. My kids are probably on my personal board of directors. For some people, a clergy person might be on their personal board of directors. So, and I'll say this for people of color, like I've mentored several African-American women and in sales and growing their career. And I always share my perspective and what I think. I also then turn around and say, by the way, I'm a white guy, right? I do not know what it's like to be a Black woman in sales or to be a Black woman in leadership or even a woman in leadership or a Black man in leadership or sales. So I always encourage people to find those folks beyond the others. And it's super, super important. I know that Kevin Dorsey has one. He has and he talks about it, that he has a mentor, specifically African-American man, who can help him get some of that perspective that I know Larry was talking about, the importance of perspective, because we all get in our own way. And so I think it's really important to have this board of directors. By the way, how do you create one? You nominate them and you vote them in, and then you tell them, hey, Larry, you're officially on my personal board of directors. I want to call you once a month, and I want to make sure that these are the kind of things we talk about. Now, Larry could turn around and say no, but you don't ask them to be, you tell them they are. And I think that's so anyway, so it's not just about a coach or a mentor. It's several of them. Some you may only talk to once every 6 months. Some you may talk to weekly, some monthly, who knows? Anyway, I'm going to pause there on that, but I wanted to make sure that people didn't think you should only have one.
That's right. I love it. And as questions pop up, please throw them in the chat. We'll be sure to leave time towards the end. Now, I want to take a little detour again. And this is because folks are thinking about the next chapter in their professional career. And this is a sales hacker event. So I assume, and it's not safe to assume, that we're all in sales and we're all looking to progress ourselves in our sales careers. So I thought about this. I'm glad y'all mentioned this. I thought about it. What are some of the traits that the top sales reps portray? And this is just my top 10. I mean, I can't wait to hear yours, Richard, but I'm going to go through this real quick. So strap up. Number 10, they give max effort and they're relentless regardless of the situation. You might be 25% of quota, still getting after it. It's kind of like in that mentality in baseball. I've been watching Little League baseball because of my son. We saw the team, they were down 4-0 yesterday. He said, the game's over. I said, it's never over. And those best sales reps know it's never over until I get through the finish line. And I might strike out, but it's still not over because I'm going to come back stronger. I might have one of those valleys. I'm going to come back to a peak next quarter, next month, next year, you name it. We talked about coaches. We talked about mentors. The best reps invest in themselves. You're investing your time right now. Now the question is, and then what? What comes next? Number 8, consistency. You're here today. What are you doing tomorrow? What did you do yesterday? Are you doing it day in and day out? Number 7, innovation. They do the things that everyone can do, but chooses not to. Are you leveraging video? Are you leveraging audio on LinkedIn? Are you leveraging funny GIFs? Are you getting creative, or are you doing what everyone else is doing? I encourage you to differentiate. Where's Waldo? You want to stand out. Number 6, they care. I call that the give a damn factor. Do you actually give a damn? Because when you do, your actions speak so loud. Can't hear what you're saying. Number 5, teamwork makes the dream work. They're collaborative. They get their personal board of directors. They get their A team. They go in. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you better do it with a team. Now, Savannah, Tess, I'm not sure if Allen Iverson is listening, but yes, I'm talking about practice, not the game. The best sales professionals hone their craft. They work on their skills during the off season. They work on their skills outside of regular business hours. They're taking care of business when business calls, but they're also practicing. Number 3, they're laser focused on their KPIs. They know what moves the needle for them. Are you analyzing your data? Are you understanding what moves the needle for you? Number 2, it's in the details. The little things are really the big things. And number 1, it's all about relationships. Relationships with prospects, with clients, with colleagues, with partners. They nurture, they cultivate, they create new. They are masters of relationships. That's my top 10 right there. In the chat, let me know what you think, but I would love to hear from Richard as well. How can folks max out? How can they be the best, be the GOAT, greatest of all time in their field?
So I think it's going to be hard to add to that, Larry. So I'm going to do my best, right? And maybe I don't get it. Maybe I only get the bronze mic. I don't get the golden mic. So you get the gold medal on that one. This is a big one. Making time for yourself. The most successful people I know make time for themselves. So Larry, I see someone wants to know about number 9. If you want to put it in the chat, or if you've got them somewhere, maybe if you can copy and paste them, throw them in the chat for folks. Again, this comes back to this mental health. I just did, it hasn't come out yet. I actually have it in front of me, but last year we did the state of mental health in sales. This year for 21, we just got the data back from 2022. And these are the things that, and we asked the questions of when you were the most successful, what was happening? Not what did you need, right? So we've kind of flipped it. These are still the same top 5. One was about being vulnerable. Can I be vulnerable? There's a difference between being a victim and being vulnerable. Don't come in being a victim, right? You can't, if the world is not intentionally against you. We go through rough patches. I think Vincent probably went through one of the worst I've seen in a long time. The world wasn't against him. It was just the state of what happened, and it's terrible and it's sad. And I think, by the way, for those of you who are in leadership, you need to be vulnerable first. You need, as leaders, to create a safe space for this vulnerability, 100%. And that doesn't mean as a leader that you have to come in and say, so-and-so died, or my cat, or I'm getting a divorce. Like, sometimes vulnerability means, man, I'm just having a terrible day. Sometimes vulnerability is, everybody, I am down. I don't even know why. What advice do you have for me?
That's right.
Let the team support you. If we're going back to teamwork and dream work, share with your team. Yes, you can share your stories of how you lost a deal and bounced back and those things. Those are all valuable. But I promise you, the more you do that, the more your team will, and you will create that culture that we all have thrived for and strived for and are now finally getting. So one is vulnerability. Two is strong boundaries with work. That doesn't mean work-life balance. There's no such thing. It's just life balance. And you need to create boundaries to have life balance. As a leader, what I encourage leaders to do, and I tell all of you, by the way, hashtag blame Richard. Say, Richard says you're a terrible leader. If I'm a leader and I got to fire off an email Sunday night, guess what? Hit send later so it goes Monday morning.
That's right.
If you're going to do something on Monday, anything after 5 o'clock local time, you hit send later. It's not about you getting it off your chest. It's about you creating the right space for your team. I just read on LinkedIn yesterday, apparently you can do the same in Slack. You like in Slack, next to the little green arrow, there's a drop down and you can say send later. How many Slack people, just by yes, +1, something in the chat, how many people get Slack messages after hours and find it freaking annoying? Because I think it's an intrusion on your personal life. So those are things that happen. Those are little things that I think help build the right culture for people. Understanding you have sales targets, making sure that you do the reverse math. Make sure that if your goal is X, you know what the reverse math is. That is the most, I wouldn't say the most important, because I like Larry's top 10 list. I'd make it number 11. Do you know your math? And if the math doesn't add up, then you need to have a conversation. Part of that math, this is another one, and then I'm going to shut up. Part of the math, and this is for leaders as well as reps, anybody in life, what is your capacity? If I work 45, 50 hours a week, right? That's, call it times 49 weeks a year. Right? That's how many hours I have. So how many hours am I going to dedicate to prospecting? How many hours am I going to dedicate to research? How many hours am I going to dedicate to all these little things that get you to your number? And if you do that math and you do that formula, you now have, back to what Larry said 10 minutes ago about, do I have a plan in place? And if the math doesn't add up, you got to go to management. I know a ton of leaders, I deal with this a lot with leaders, where they're doing everything because, part of that's fun. You're in a startup. It's cool. Awesome. You're learning as much as you can, but they don't even know what their own capacity is. And when they sit down and do it, they're like, holy cow, I do work 60 hours a week. And to really do this well, I'd have to work 80. And this is why things aren't getting done. And you have to have that conversation with leadership. Anyway, so I'll stop there, but those are, I think, the key ones that I would bring forward at this point.
Love it. And thank you for sharing, Richard. I got to say thank you to Peter. I appreciate you outlining that. I know Mackie had asked about number 9. You gave them all 10. Thank you to Megan E. I love that. Active listening. Can you hear me now? I know I might carry the microphone, and I know this will probably surprise people, but in 2021, my theme for the year was shh.
Oh, that's a great theme.
Listen.
Hey, Larry, do you know why open-ended questions are the best for sales?
Why?
Because they force us to shut up.
Yes. Yes. Now, something I'd want everyone to listen to, and Tess talked about this earlier, there's a song by the great philosopher. I think his name is Ludacris. Move. Get out the way. You've got to get out of your own way. And Richard talked about, I think he stated very crystal clear that the top performers take care of themselves. Sometimes you gotta be selfish. You gotta make sure that you fill your cup so that you can then be at your best to fill everyone else's cup. So we're gonna go through a little exercise. You might be surprised. I don't even drink coffee, but I know that my cup better be overflowing if I wanna be my best to pour into someone else's cup. So go ahead and pull out something to write with. We've got a little graphic here. We're going to go through a little priorities exercise, and then we'll open it up to questions. So please formulate your questions, but I want you to go ahead and write down these 8 buckets. We'll start off with faith. Some people call it spirituality. Bucket number 2 is family. Number 3 is friends. Number 4, this is my favorite. It's probably the only one I'm an expert at. That's fun. Number 5, fitness. Your health is your wealth. Ooh, don't flex on them, Larry. You might hurt somebody. Yeah, number 6 is finances. Number 7, I know some people are like, hold up, this doesn't start with F. I spell phonetically and frenetically. It's philanthropy. What are you doing in your community? And then number 8 is career, which is so important. And these are all important. But as you can see, what we're going to do is I want you to stack rank. If you had to prioritize 1 through 8, how would you do it? What's number 1? What's number 2? What's number 6? What's number 8? What's that bucket that's on here that's important, but it's just not as important as the rest? Let's take about 15 seconds. We're gonna do this, and there's 3 parts to it, so I'll give you some more time. But let's just snap decision. Prioritize 1 through 8.
I'd love, Larry, if we can, if someone's willing to come off mute and share their 1 through 8. Let's exercise this with a real person, not me and you.
That would be perfect.
If someone's willing.
Perfect. Any volunteers? Mackie, I see you. Vincent. Yeah, Vincent. Yeah. Sorry for your loss, Vincent. Come on up. Come on down.
Say, you got to go with Vincent based on his vulnerability.
Yes. Tess, Savannah, is there any way that we can pull Vincent up?
Yes, working on it now. Sorry. I am not
no worries,
inclined, but it's happening. Okay, I'm promoting Vincent to panelist. All right, Vincent, I think you should be able to accept that, and then you'll be able to put your microphone and camera on as you wish. Hopefully. Let me know if it doesn't work, Vincent.
I see him on the panel.
Vincent, can you unmute?
I'm still coming. I'm coming. Can you hear me?
Awesome. There you are. We hear you.
He's here.
Can we see you, Vincent?
Okay, here I am. Hi.
Hey.
So I've been listening to all of the really great things that you guys have been talking about. It's funny. I'm in sales, so I'm actually selling and listening to this at the same time.
What's your role, Vincent? Give us just context. What is your role?
Yes. So currently I'm working as an account executive for the Dayton Business Journal.
Great.
It has 45 other publications throughout North America, but I'm located here in Dayton, Ohio.
Got it.
The opportunities that I represent or that I sell are event opportunities, printed advertising, digital advertising, as well as research.
Vincent, I used to work for an old school thing. This thing, some people may not, it's a relic. What's called a newspaper. So I used to sell newspaper ads. So I'm with you, my man. So, and again, perspective, if you're comfortable sharing, family, not family yet, still single, like what's your, just as we hear your 8 buckets.
Oh yeah. So I am married and I do have 2 kids.
Wonderful.
And they're not biological, but we took over co-parenting with their mother and their grandmother.
Good for you, man. Thank you. Wish
so that totally, honestly, that totally changed my perspective. When I was younger and in sales, it was literally all about fun and money. That's all.
Yes, I'm with you. So what's in your bucket? Tell us your order.
So right now, my bucket would be faith, family, friends, fun, finances, fitness, career, and then philanthropy. And I was going to ask you guys, how do you find time between being in sales and also being philanthropic and giving your time? It just seems like you were saying, salespeople are, what's the most valuable thing for us is our time. And I'm usually one of those people, and I have to change. I'm usually one of those people that are like, if it doesn't make sense or it doesn't make money, then I don't want to do anything with it. But
Larry, go ahead. Why don't you answer that? I have some thoughts, but this is really your exercise.
Vincent, I love the question right there. And your top 8, it really reveals what your top priorities are. So philanthropy, being that it's number 8, I wouldn't imagine that your schedule I look at your schedule, your calendar, there's probably not going to be anything philanthropic on it because it's not a priority, and that's okay. You
Yep.
stated that your faith, your family, your friends, your fun, your finances are your top priorities. Therefore, and this is really an alignment of your resource. I work with a coaching client of mine in Australia who said fitness was his number 3. I said, go ahead, open up your calendar. Let me see when you work out. It was like a deer in headlights. It was like, uh-oh, Houston, we have a problem. He didn't work out. I said,
Yeah.
come on now. Let's go ahead and open up your calendar. Let's schedule some time. You're going to copy me. You're going to invite me. And then you're going to send me a selfie when you get done. Now, this was at 12. It was 12:30 the Monday. It was 10:30 p.m. I'm here on the East Coast, and I get a sweaty selfie. My wife said, what kind of coaching are you doing? But essentially, he said, thank you for making me do it. I said, I didn't make you do anything. You're the one who said that this was one of your top 3 priorities. I just identified, I just observed that what you were doing didn't align with what you said your priorities were. Here in your family situation, I can understand why number 1 is your family. And this is something that I want you, Vincent, if you don't care, if you don't mind sharing, step 2 of this is if you were to give yourself a grade, on your top 5, your faith, your family, your friends, your fun, and your finances, a grade on a scale of 1 to 10. No 7s, because 7 is that safe zone. How would you grade yourself when it comes to your faith walk, your spirituality? 1, 2,
Oh,
3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. How you doing?
Yeah, my faith, I'm in a gospel praise and worship team, and so Sundays we sing and we rehearse every Tuesday. So I've made time out for that.
Give me a number. We're going to school. Give me a number. What score would you grade yourself on? 1 through 10, no 7s.
Okay, 10.
A 10. So you're perfect when it comes to your faith walk.
Oh,
We need to
I
talk. I've yet
try.
to meet anyone perfect, but I'll take it when it comes
I
to family.
try.
When
So
it comes
I
to
want to
family, 1 through
jump
10.
in real quick on this too.
1 through
I love
10.
that question. I don't mind a 7 because my next question, great. What's the difference between a 7 and a 10? So because I know
Yeah.
that I know 7s are BS.
My grade
So
for family, I would give it a 5.
okay, so what's the difference between a 5 and a 10?
Time and focus. Because when I'm in sales mode all day, so that by the time I go home, literally just need to relax and just chill out and kind of ponder what I need to do for the next day. And I don't typically make out time to really,
Boundaries, baby.
yeah,
Boundaries. You gotta have them. If they can make me co-host so I can show my calendar, I'm gonna show you what I do. However, I want to point out one really important thing about that philanthropy piece. If you have faith, family, friends, and even fun, that is philanthropy. If you're
mm,
spending time with a choir and singing and then spreading that joy to the world, that is a type of philanthropy. If you're getting your kids to learn how to give and give back and teaching
mhm.
them small acts of kindness, that is philanthropy, right? So in my mind, it's a little bit like take 2 and go, right? You're going to replace yourself with 2 people or 3 people, your kids and your wife, right? And that is a philanthropy. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't go do something else. But keep in mind,
Okay.
maybe philanthropy is you just grab your kids a couple of trash bags and you go to the park for 20 minutes on Saturday. Hey, everybody, we're just going to do this. Nobody's asked us to. We're just going to do it because it's our park. And this is how we give back to our community. So I think that is a really, really just don't discount your philanthropy. I think you're doing it in ways that maybe you haven't thought about.
Thank you.
And
I will appreciate that.
that are not traditional, right? Like how much time do I donate and how much money do I donate? Maybe a philanthropist donation. I'm a little bit like you. It's easier for me to give a couple $100, to certain charities
Yeah.
because they have the time to do it. They need
Mhm.
that support. So again, I think it's maybe try not to be so hard on yourself.
Yes.
So
I failed to mention too, my kids really love when I go through I have a thing about clothes. I have a lot of clothes. And my kids love to do donate day. We always do it like maybe once or twice a month. I go through all of our closets and we just donate books and clothes and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not in my top 5, but it is, like you said, it is something that I'm doing.
I love what Megan said too. She's like, sometimes they overlap. Her fun
Mhm,
is her philanthropy,
mhm,
right? Sometimes her fun is spirituality, right?
mhm.
If you go and get that spirituality with your group and your choir, that's fun,
It's a lot of fun.
right? Like, so I love that. Thank you for bringing this up, Megan, because I think it's really important that while Larry says rank them, it doesn't mean they can't overlap.
Gotcha.
And in many cases, they probably should.
Mhm.
So,
That's
uh,
right. Now we're coming up to the end. We've got about 12 minutes left. The last step, and I want to make sure people have an action plan as they leave. Now, for everyone, you included, Vincent, for
Mhm.
your top 3 priorities, I want you, and for number 1, you're already perfect, but how can you go from a 10 in your faith walk and spirituality to an 11? How can you elevate to that next level? For folks that might be struggling with their fitness, like me,
Mhm.
what can you do to go from a 6 to an 8? What does that look like? What action can you take to elevate? But hold up, wait a minute. Don't write it down unless you're committed. If you're not committed, you're kind of straddling the fence. I'm going to save you some heartache. Don't write it down. Don't document it. Only document it if you're committed to doing it and you're committed to getting an accountability partner to help you along the way, to cheer you on, Hercules, as you look to up level your life. Because
all
so
right.
many times, and Richard, you're not alone. I was noodling about writing a book. I was noodling on it. Then I met someone who said, "When's your release date, Larry?" He said, "If you don't have a release date, you're not serious about writing a book. You're a
Mm.
noodler." I said,
Yep.
"Yeah, you
Mhm.
got me figured out, dog." I came down with that release date, and all of a sudden, voila.
So I want to jump in. I want to talk about this. Um, um, talk about your how do we organize this stuff, right? So a couple things, and I can't. We're having some back end won't let me co-host to show my calendar. If I would show you my calendar, you will see things on my calendar: red, yellow, green. Green is money. Yellow is this is a yellow. Maybe it could turn. Maybe someone one day will come and hire me. I don't know, but it's definitely not red, right? And then I have red. I also, in my calendar, every day from 12 to 1, it's blocked out for lunch for an hour. I can assure you I don't take an hour lunch every day, but it's there to give me that break. It's there that I can offer that time to someone else if something important comes up. I also have blue. Blue is my family and my personal. So my kids' stuff, my kids' activities, that's blue. Right? Wednesdays and Fridays afternoon, blocked off after 3 o'clock, so I'm going to go play golf. Guess how many times I played golf, Larry, this year? Three.
All
Three.
right, Tiger Woods.
Yeah. So this is what calendaring is like. And then here's a new one that I just tried. I just learned this and I tried it this week and it's fabulous. It's the to-do list.
That's right.
Everybody I know has a to-do list written down of 22 things. And if I come back in 6 months, it'll be 27. Here's the advice someone gave me, and it's been working fabulously. I actually put each item on my to-do list on my calendar. So if I've got to go write a proposal, guess what? It's on my calendar. If I need to go write LinkedIn or posts, it's on my calendar. If I need to write blog posts, it's on my calendar. If I need to respond to emails, it's on my calendar. So my calendar gets full, but now it's full with the things I know I need to do and not on a sheet of paper, which I'm always trying to fit into my calendar and I'm never good at. And the other thing I learned, and this is for me, I don't put 2 hours on my calendar that says, do your to-do list. I will blow that thing off like there's no tomorrow. So these are the little things that I've done to help drive that. I do have, to Larry's point, I have my workouts every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4:30 to 5:30 on my calendar. Those I actually get done. I also, for those who can't tell, I'm standing, I have a standing desk and I've got a little walking treadmill. I'm not walking right now because we're on this webinar, but those things matter to me. So anyway, I'm going to pause there because we're coming up on time and questions. So
Yes, we are. So the big takeaway, make sure that your actions align with your priorities. It's time to break the brain. What questions do you have for Richard and I? Go ahead and raise your hand, put it in the chat. We would love to take and field any of your questions.
Hey, folks. Thank you so much, Larry and Richard, for everything that you guys have shared today. And a special thank you and shout out to Vincent for coming up, sharing some pretty vulnerable stuff, and participating in that interactive exercise.
He gets the golden mic.
He definitely does. And a funky pair of pink sunglasses from all of us. Right now is your time, guys, in the audience. We have about 7 minutes for any questions. So we just got one from Billy. What is your advice for somebody who's new to sales? He's only been an SDE for 4 months. He's looking for help. He's looking for motivation. He's looking to kickstart his new career. What would you guys say to him? And or anybody in this position?
Richard,
Larry,
you kick us
first?
off.
You go first, Larry, because you're the positivity guy.
I would first encourage you, Billy, to learn as much as you can, to just really soak in information about the industry that you're in, about your company, meet as many people as you possibly can. High performers, you really want to tune in to what makes them a high performer. Low performers, you want to tune in and avoid whatever they do. But I would say learn about the your product, learn about sales, your selling skills, be a sponge, and also be confident and know that you, Billy, are enough. Sometimes that doubt can come into our minds. I used to make 150 cold calls, ice cold calls every day to accounting firms. And I had a gentleman in New Jersey who said, Larry, I got something for you. I thought I was about to get a sign up. I thought I was going to ring the little bell. Ding. He said, I want you to put on a pair of concrete shoes and jump off a bridge. I said, oh my goodness, that wasn't in our manual how to overcome that objection. So I said the first thing that came to mind, God bless you too. And I hung up. So I just encourage you to be a sponge, to be confident and learn and grow as much as you can. Like coming to these events right here, put it into action.
So I would agree with Larry on this one, Billy. Don't overdo yourself, meaning it's okay to say learning means I'm going to read one blog post this week. Some weeks you'll read one every day. Sometimes you'll read a book. I would encourage you to definitely look for those mentors and leaders you can go to, both at your company and externally. Find one and say, hey, I'm new to this. Can I talk to you once or twice a month to just learn and ask you questions? I would encourage you to ask this question you asked of us, of your leader. If your leader tells you, I don't have time for that, or I don't know, I just know how to do it, or any of that, the wrong fucking leader. Get out. Get out. I can promise you. Don't worry about you've only been there 4 months. Believe me, there's so many open SDR roles. It's not going to be an issue. And when someone says, well, why'd you leave after 4 months? You just say crappy leadership and tell them that story. And they will be like, great. Anyway, so those are the main things I would do. And try things. So 1, you need to absorb. 2, you need to try and recognize that if you try something and it doesn't work, that's an amazing thing, because now you're one step closer to what's gonna work.
Right.
So that's my quick version of that.
Love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Richard. What other questions are on y'all's minds? I mean, we're all in sales. We're all looking to learn and grow and elevate our game to that next level. How can we help and support you?
Please drop it in the chat, guys. Something that I was thinking about as Larry and Richard were answering Billy's question. I mean, I myself am relatively new. I'm new to Sales Hacker and Outreach as an organization. I'm even relatively new to sales because I come from that pure community management background. And something that I've done, which is really important, and I know Richard will +1 this so many times over, is really to give yourself grace. You can't be expected to know everything on day 1, on day 90, on day 120. But you got to start sort of making a plan for moving forward in your knowledge base and giving yourself that time and that grace. It's not easy to do. I'm somebody where if you don't get it right on the first time, I freak out and I'm like, no, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah. I want to give one more piece of advice to Billy. you have an amazing story and you can share that. The more karma you put out in the world, the more you will get back. So you're 4 months into an SDR role. Again, it's a comfort thing. Post about it on LinkedIn. Hey, everybody, I'm 4 months in, never done this before. Here's what I've learned so far. What else should I pay attention to? Go ask the LinkedIn community. Go ask the sales hacker community. Get on to saleshacker.com and go do that. Like, take advantage of these groups and these micro communities that are out there who will lift you up and support you. And it's okay to give feedback to say, wow, I wouldn't do it that way. I do it this way because it's been successful. And you can even say, look, I've been here for 4 months. Tell me if I'm wrong. So you can share what you've learned in your knowledge. And you can say, look, I'm also 4 months in. So if I'm wrong, tell me, I want to learn. And everybody will respect that and respect you. And it feels so much better to give than it is to take.
That's right.
Make deposits more than withdrawals.
Yes. I
Great
love
stuff.
that.
Tess, you mentioned something. I'm 20 plus years in, and I still have to remind myself and be intentional about giving myself grace.
Yep.
If you quit learning, if you can't grow anymore, then it's time for you to retire. It's time for you to hang them up. Richard, I love what you talked about, the company you keep, the community, and really sharing with the community, but also asking for the community. We're all in sales, and I need this reminder often from my coach. Healthy people ask for what they want. Think about that. I can tell you I was unhealthy because I would beat around the bush. Oh, I don't want to put so-and-so out there. I don't want to be a bother. Larry, if you need help, healthy people ask for what they want. Richard, can you help me?
Yes.
And I've done that before, and Richard has said, yes. Why didn't you ask me before? Sorry, man. I was scared. I was scared. I didn't want to bother you.
I said, Larry, how do I get on the speaker circuit? Hey, Larry, you're getting paid to speak now. By the way, we don't get paid for this one. But how did you do that? What advice do you have for me? So it goes both ways, right? It's super, super, super important in my opinion.
Richard, this is a great question for you from Delphine. I think we've got 2 minutes. How do you shake off burnout outside of taking a break or vacation? How do you get your flame back?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So one, you have to decide where your burnout is. And you have to look internally really deeply and be honest with yourself. And I burned out. And if the issue is you can't take a break or a vacation, and by the way, I'm happy to talk offline about this. What do you mean? You can't put something on the calendar over the holidays sometime in February next year? Not to say that you don't need it now, but you need something to look forward to. So that's a really important piece. The other thing is now, in the moment, that calendar blocking I talked about, blocking off 20 minutes for lunch or 30 minutes or an hour, doesn't mean you're going to take it, but at least you know it's there. If you're truly burning out, then that is a deeper discussion than what we can address here, because it can talk about lack of motivation. It can be, and for me it was, so it's not for everybody. For me, it triggered my depression a lot more. And so it could be something bigger than just, hey, I'm just burning out. It's a legit thing. So I think that's okay. I also think if you can go to your boss and say, hey, I have to take this day off and you cannot contact me. And I would use the word mental health day. I absolutely need this mental health day. And if they give you the hairy eyeball or they start to look weird at you, guess what? You just got the green light. The green light, because you're always a free agent in sales. That's our best asset. We are free agents. We can go anytime, anywhere, any place. It is now 2-to-1 jobs per people available. Yes, I know people are concerned about the recession. Yes, some companies are doing that, but not all of them. Remember, the news, the media, social media, we all want to talk about negativity because negativity sells. Controversy creates eyeballs. Do your research to see if you're in the right spot at the right place. And finally, if you need a 6-week vacation, you just do it. Like, again, I'll paraphrase this, or I'll say this quickly. Not if it puts your job, your life at risk, not if it puts your family at risk, your housing at risk, your insurance, or sometimes you just have to cut the cord. Anyway, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat offline about this because I know it could go a lot deeper than maybe where we are.
So. Happy to help as well. Thank you for the question, Delphine.
Guys, I know we've just gone a little bit over, and I appreciate everybody who's not only stayed on, but for the folks who were with us, even just for 15 minutes in the middle of your workday, to take a step back and absorb as much content as you can live with us. And hey, if you had to drop, that's why we have recordings. That's the beauty of a recorded event. So you can always connect to us on LinkedIn, on email, asynchronously, and you can always watch this on demand as well. So first of all, again, a big thank you to Larry and Richard for sharing everything with us, for pretty much unscrewing your brains, emptying out the contents, but in a very clear list format with slides and a very easy presentation, and then sewing it back up and then breaking it down for us. Also, a big thank you to our audience, especially Vincent, for coming up on stage with us and sharing about his life and being vulnerable. And as we spoke about at the beginning, really ensuring that he was being vulnerable, but not the victim, taking ownership into his own hands about his life and his future. And lastly, a very big thank you to our friends over at Captivate IQ for sponsoring today's event and really bringing this to life. We really wouldn't have been able to make this possible if it wasn't for them. So on that note, I'll let you guys go. I know it's been a long webinar, so enjoy the rest of your day. Stay cool if you're in a hot area, which I know I am. And let's rock these shades, baby. All right,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.